The call zone and the comfort zone don't always align. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. This is part number 3 of our 5-part series, The Early Church and Comfort Zones. We go back to look forward. We understand that God blesses us, not just for our sake, but even for the impact on those around us. And we looked at Abraham and we looked at Jacob in our previous lesson. And here we are now recognizing that's like kind of cool to know, but we also need to be aware that in this calling and in this being led out by God, that leading out could be outside of your comfort zone. It could be leading you in a place that you are not familiar with, you're not comfortable with, and even to the point it's not something that we want to do. But here's good news. When we get to that place that's outside of our comfort, there is one promise that we have, and we're going to talk about that promise in another study in the series. But for now, let's just look at the fact that the difference sometimes between the comfort zone and the called zone. We look at the story of Ananias. Ananias is the brother that God calls Saul, who becomes Paul, to go to when he's made the decision to serve the Lord. Well, he was blinded by the light of Jesus Christ, and in this experience, he's blinded for several days, and God raises up this man to be the one who actually heals the Apostle Paul. In Acts 9:11-12, the Lord said unto him, Ananias, arise and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth. And he had seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in and putting his hand on him that he might receive his sight. The Lord is dropping not knowledge, but this is not even wisdom. He's getting prophetic. He's saying what Saul is doing right then, and he's actually praying. And while he is praying, I'm answering that prayer. This is a whole nother powerful study that we could see how God is answering prayers while we're asking. But that said, Ananias now gets the message. He gets the call. Go, and I want you to minister to this brother. But look at Ananias' response. In verse 13, then Ananias answered, Lord, I've heard by many of this man, how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem. And here he hath authority from the chief priests to bind all that call on thy name. Ananias has an objection to the motion, and it's really a rational one. He's saying, wait a minute, the guy that you're telling me to go deal with and to heal, open his eyes, he's a guy that's arresting my people. And the first thing he's going to do when he opens his eyes is lock me up. He's called outside of his comfort zone, and it's even a reasonable explanation or objection. But look at God's response. In verse 15, the Lord said unto him, go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. There is some hope in the Lord's response. As he's calling Ananias out of his comfort zone, it doesn't necessarily mean that comfort zone and the call zone will align, but he always promises to give us comfort. And in the response, he is explaining to Ananias, I know that's who he is, but there's a change coming in his life. I know what he has done, but he's making another choice. He's choosing to serve me. So the Lord doesn't back up on what he's calling Ananias to do, but he gives him a little bit more biographical information. And I shouldn't say biographical because it's not what has happened. This is what he's prophesying to happen. I'm letting you know this guy's story tomorrow so you can go do something for him today. That might not be convenient. It might not be comfortable, but if you don't do what I'm asking you to do, that puts at risk the story that I just told you about his future. The Lord recognizes that we do things in a certain way, and he knows our comfort zone because he knows how to comfort us. So whenever God's calling us out of that space, he's not just calling us out of that space, but in a very real way, he's calling us closer to himself. And by Ananias following God into this space, he got closer to God, number one. He got closer to Saul, and he was a part of the process of seeing him go from Saul to Paul. But above that, his example now serves as an inspiration to us. When we are asked to go out of the comfort zone, don't focus on what he's calling us out of. Focus on who he's calling us to. It's not just to Paul, but it's even to the very presence of God himself. And that, my friends, that call In that place is no greater comfort.